everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Politician, Season 1, Episode 1. It is simply the pilot. This is Netflix's new show from Ryan Murphy. It's already got a Season 2. I think they ordered it for 2 seasons when they announced it, if I remember right.
That sounds familiar.
But this is a show set in a high school, although it's like no high school I've ever seen in my life, filled with, you know how they always do that thing where they have people who are in their early 20s playing teenagers? This might be the most offensively, like, old actor show for teenagers I've ever seen.
I agree. I think that's intentional.
It probably is. But I was looking at some of these dudes, even just in the opening scene, and I'm like, you're basically my age. Like I wouldn't surprise me if you were my age.
Yeah, I know the girl who plays Astrid. I recognized her from...
She's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but no, most recently, I think for a lot of people, she was in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, sure. She was in Black Coat's Daughter. She was in Sing Street, was the name of the
Yeah.
She was
I'm so high profile. Like,
she was in, actually, she was in that Frontier we looked at, like, on Netflix
Really?
2 years ago. I think she was in
I'm not
that.
going to lie. I don't remember that show well enough.
She was in something on a show around that time, but she's been in a lot of stuff recently, yeah.
Yeah. She's like 25, 26, something like that.
Yeah, I think they're all in at least the mid-20 range. Because none of them look remotely like teenagers. They look like fully grown adults, and not in like a borderline way where a lot of, like, you know, teenagers in TV do. Because at least normally what they'll do is they'll cast a lot of people who are like 19, 20, and it's like, okay, they could kind of pass for it a little bit.
Yeah, like the opening scene of this is like an interview for Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I didn't realize it was an interview. I assumed, okay, no, this guy's already at Harvard. You know,
he's in his senior year. He's in his last year at Harvard.
Yeah. He's just going for a meeting there.
Yeah.
And then as the scene went, I was like, oh, never mind.
It got even worse because halfway through the first episode, it does a flashback to 18 months ago, which means if they're at the start of their senior year, 18 months ago means they're maybe like halfway through the age of 16, and they still look like they're 27. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah. No, listen, it's jarring and noticeable. I am going to give it a pass because it feels intentional.
I mean, yeah, first with the tone of the show, but like I was looking at River, the second of the two, because the main guy, Peyton, who's the one we follow, he's got this his rival in this episode is this guy he's had a bit of an affair with, but he's now running against him for class president. That's kind of what the plot of the show is. River, I was looking at it, there's a debate early on. It's like the second or third scene. There's like a class debate in the auditorium, and they're in front of everyone. And I'm looking at this guy on stage. Do you know what he looks like? Do you know what River looks like? He looks like Henry Cavill. He looks like Henry Cavill like
Holy
2 years
shit,
ago.
I can see it, yeah.
Right? And I'm like, that's Superman. Superman's apparently in high school right now running for class president.
I'm find out his age. A quick Google did not actually tell me as easily as I thought it would.
Is it not on IMDb? Does that go his birthday?
No.
It does not. No, you're right. The main guy is 26, for the record. I checked his age.
Okay. 8 facts about this guy. Come on, this guy's 26 as well.
Right.
Although when was this article written? Before I say that.
Oh, he's at least 26 then, right?
At least, yeah.
Right. Because this is the thing. It's not just that. It's not just their faces. It's their build as well. Like every guy in this show is ripped. They're ripped like they've been in gyms for years. And I'm like, people who are like 17 don't typically look like. You may get one guy in the school who's that ripped, maybe.
Maybe.
These guys look like they've been pumping iron for a decade. That's what it looks like, and
they do, yeah.
Oh dear. And people are going to be like, "Oh, but it's, you know, it's in Santa Barbara. Maybe they're all attractive." I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't know. They all look like they're 27 bodybuilders.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, this article is about. It's set around. Okay, no, he's in the new show, so it's probably written in the last week or so at most.
Recent enough. Yeah.
So 26, but. Yeah, no, they look it. They're not even trying to hide it.
Not only do they look it, they're not even dressed like teenagers. No one in this show is dressed like a teenager. They're all dressed like they belong to a country club.
No, I'll tell you who they're dressed like.
Oh, yeah, okay, I know where you're going with this.
Chad effing Radwell.
If all they were just a bit more like Chad Radwell, the show would be just... It would be something.
To be fair...
It'd be something.
Every show would be better if characters were more like Chad Radwell.
If no one's getting this reference, Chad Radwell was a character on Scream Queens, which was also a Ryan Murphy show. The one Ryan Murphy show that we both happen to quite like.
We like a lot.
Yeah, we like that a lot. I didn't like American Horror Story. Not that I've tried a lot of his other stuff. A lot of it just didn't appeal to me. But did Ryan Murphy do Glee?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. I tried that. Didn't like it.
No, I'm shocked.
Not a shock, admittedly, but didn't like it. So this is a deeply satirical high school politician series. You run for class president because the opening scene is him saying he wants to be president, like actual president, and that he wants to get to Harvard because the Harvard is the school with the highest amount of presidents. 7, I think he said, was the number. And I'm like, I bet the current one wasn't from Harvard. I'm going to go out on a limb. But
I think he'd have been lucky to get an interview.
Yes. He might have struggled when he showed up with a Big Mac in his hand. But we have this highly satirical look at a presidential race where he's got his own little posse who are like his campaign team,
his advisors,
who all want to go to the White House with him eventually. So they're all working with him right now and want to be with him through the entire career.
I just love the idea of a high school politician having spads. That's just amazing.
So yeah, what did you think of the first episode of The Politician then?
I don't know. There are bits that I love. And there are other bits where I felt bored.
Yeah, I don't like. You said to me yesterday you didn't think I was going to like this, and I think there's parts of it I do like. I do think that this episode's a full hour, and I felt the full hour. I don't think it had enough to actually justify a 60-minute runtime. It felt like, no, this was a 42-minute show that was stretched out with 18 extra minutes.
This is what happens when he's allowed on Netflix for the first time.
Yeah, apparently so, because he did direct this episode as well. He created the show, he co-wrote this episode, he directed this episode. Ryan Murphy's hands.
So we can hold him personally responsible.
He's accountable for this episode, is what I'm saying, and. Like he's like, I mean, the direction's fine. Obviously, there's some quirky elements to it. I did think there was some weird narrative shifts in it where, like, it cut to like a new scene, and I went, "Oh wait, what happened? Okay, I guess that happened now." Like, it didn't feel like it was trying to do a shock like cut to me. It just felt like it was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I can't feel like I'd missed a scene, or like.
I can't say I ever felt that.
Oh, actually, no, that's not quite what I felt like. I'll tell you what I felt like. There was a plot beat in this episode where it cut to a new scene and something bad had happened, right? And I assumed that this was cutting till at the end of the school year and that it was going to be like jumping back and forth. And then the episode just kept going as if it had just happened. It was like, oh wait, no, it's the start of the campaign race still. Oh, we're still just at the start. Okay. I just, there was a plot beat that came out of nowhere and it just cut to it so nonchalantly where this big thing had happened and I was like, oh, we skipped ahead. Yeah. And we hadn't. It was just, no, it's happened now. And I was like, okay. Yeah, but then there's other scenes, there's scenes, and there's a scene in the library where Lucy Boynton's character, Astrid, is kind of trying to, like, talk to Peyton, and she's kind of, like, hiding behind the books and just, like, always there, like, almost like a slasher villain, like, just always appearing no matter where he goes. And I had some fun out of that, because it was kind of inventive, and it was kind of quirky in the way that fits for the show, and,
that worked.
There was that. But then those whole sequences, I think it just takes too long to make some of its points, because I like some of the points it was making about him trying to look for his vice president, right? His running partner, and like some of the tricks and stuff that he tries to pull and the way he does that. But it takes a long time to actually get to that, to get to the point. It does, yeah. There's a long montage, and then the one character that he kind of tries to multiple times to get, and eventually, I mean, I'll just say it kind of does by the end of the episode. I don't think that's much of a spoiler.
It was in the trailer.
Yeah. Like, it feels like it takes too long to get to that point. And the final little twist with that is nice, and some of the beats along the way are nice, but I didn't necessarily need as much time spent on each scene as I did. It's almost like the satirical comedy version of, like, a Refn production. Right, it's not. I mean, the scenes aren't quite as long as Refn, but they all felt too long. There was a lot of scenes in this where I went, "This is outstayed its welcome. It did its job. It didn't need to be this long."
No, I agree. I think tightened up, I could love this. Like, love this. As it is, like I said, I don't know, because there were points where in the scenes I found myself getting bored, but then there are moments I think are fantastic.
I think the satire is largely on point, and how kind of, like, superficial the whole thing is. Like,
Yeah, like a recurring theme is, and and I think it's brought up at least 3 times. Is if pretending versus being authentic, does it matter if you can't tell? And that is brought up a lot.
Yeah, and there's a whole there's a plan the girlfriend Alice, Peyton's girlfriend, comes up with in the second half of the episode, which I thought was pretty funny, and it was a nice little take on kind of scheming and trying to create a perception of the candidate and all that stuff. Like the actual ideas, I think, are pretty solid. I think if this episode had been 30% shorter, tightened up.
Yeah, basically, we want a nice 42-minute episode in this one.
Yes, I want this trimmed down considerably. Just the pacing, just a bit more brisk, a bit more.
I think that might be part of like Ryan Murphy. He knows network TV. He's done it for years. He knows how to pace for it. And this is right, free reign. Netflix, do what you want, and just indulged a little bit. We've seen it before. We'll probably see it again.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because I think it hurts a premise that otherwise does rather work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I say, interesting structure. The way it was cutting around was kind of interesting.
Yeah. It was quite an extended flashback at one point as well.
And it was a flashback that had multiple scenes as well. It wasn't just like it stayed on one character or one that bit in the library I was talking about where she was following him around. That was like the second or third scene in an extended flashback period.
Yeah, to the point where I thought, okay, we're staying in the flashback, and we'll get to the other stuff later, and then we didn't.
Yeah, it makes me wonder: are we going to keep cutting back to that previous period
possibly
throughout the show? Is that going to be a thing that they keep doing? And I kind of want to, because there's a character who's going to be missing otherwise. That seems like there's more to develop with. But
I agree.
I don't know. But yeah. So I think we'll go to spoilers now. I think we'll give the spoiler warning for episode 1 of The Politician. So yeah. So the big thing is that River, the friend who's dating Astrid, and it's Astrid who's kind of pushing him to run. She wants him to be great, and she wants him to be successful, so she can be attached to his success, which is something that Peyton kind of accuses her of at one point. He actually dies in this episode. He commits suicide, and he does. And this was the cut where I thought was really weird because there was a scene with them debating things inside the dining room of River's house, and then we go to, I think it was maybe the flashbacks or whatever it was we cut to, and we come back. And Peyton's outside, covered in blood, talking about how he just killed himself, how River had just killed himself.
And we knew at the start of that scene he had the gun, so we'd seen that.
Yeah.
But it's still, okay. I guess that was a bit of a weird cut.
This felt to me like, oh, this is going to happen in 9 months or at the end of the school year, and we're going to be building up to. Did he actually kill himself? Did Peyton, in a rage because he wants to become the president? Admittedly, he'd be president long before then, but you know what I mean? Whatever the build-up would be to that. But then the episode just kept going. I'm like, no, he's actually just dead. And don't get me wrong, Astrid getting up and announcing at his, school wake that she's going to take his place and run against Peyton. Okay, that was a good moment. And then kind of rubs in, and she's got this sympathy vote, which leads to Peyton's girlfriend suggesting, hey, we're going to spread that I cheated on you and that I'm going to dump you, and everyone's going to hate me.
Spread. She did an announcement.
An announcement. It was like a press release, yes. And, they're all sitting on their laptops and they're watching the awful comments come in and calling her a slut and everything else. It's like, this was genius, it worked. And the next day in school, everyone's being really sympathetic towards them. And which, by the way, this school campus... It looks like a villa. It looks like a sunny villa. It's like a holiday hotel that you would go to for a light vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're walking through these archways, and I'm like, this looks fancier than most college campuses I see in movies and TV.
It's nice. It's real nice.
Again, maybe it's just Santa Barbara. Maybe that's all this is. It's just a very, very upper class area with a lot of nice things. Yeah. Maybe that's all it is. But this does not look like a high school in any way, shape, or form.
You have the teacher coming, I know it's a tough time for you. Just show up to the exam and I'll give you an A.
Yes, yeah, that was amusing. All that stuff was was fine. It worked well in the context of the show and the tone that the show's got going for it. But I did like that plan, and I did like the twist at the end. He spends a lot of time trying to get this. Let me just get her name because I've forgotten it.
It was something stupid.
Infinity.
That was it.
I didn't even see it in the list. I just is it Infinity? It was the stupid name.
Yeah.
So Infinity has cancer, and he's trying to get her to be his running mate.
Yeah.
And she keeps saying no, but then the mom, who likes to take advantage and use her illness, because we see it at a restaurant where they kind of like almost guilt these other people into giving up their table so that they can go and eat.
Yeah, they talk about how they went on TV and made sure they got tickets for like Disneyland and stuff or whatever it was. It was something like Disneyland. I can't remember the exact one, but the point stands.
Yeah. So the twist at the end is though when she finally agrees to do this and makes the big announcement in the final scene, this other guy who's been kind of mouthy, like just this background character who's been kind of there being kind of critical of everything around him, let's say, just kind of steps and says, you realise she's faking it, right? She's not actually got cancer. And he just has this look of shock because now there's a skeleton, now there's something that can be exposed that will tear their whole campaign down.
Yeah.
He's just associated himself with someone who's living a big lie.
Pretty much. It's he's doomed. Mm-hmm. Also, this guy at the end had one of my favourite like low-key jokes. Because he walks up and Penn's like, hey, Andrew. And he goes, it's Eric. And he's like, all right, sorry, Eric. And he goes, it is Andrew, you dick. just for the sake of just, there was no reason to do that except just because you can, because you knew you'd get away with it, because it just assumed he was wrong. It's quite funny.
Yeah, and obviously the big emotional climax for Peyton is that he's told throughout the episode, the first interview at Harvard, it's like, hey, when was the last time you cried? Because he's kind of sensing that he may be a sociopath, that he's not a regular human being. And throughout the episode, he's kind of criticized for not getting emotional, for not crying, for not getting upset about things. And he breaks down. It's when he goes to Infinity's house to actually kind of like almost schmooze her mother into what he convinced her to be part of the campaign.
Oh no, almost. It's, hey, I'll give you some money, buy a car.
Okay, sure. He flat out tries to bribe her mother. All right, but basically, when he starts talking about everything, he breaks down and starts crying, and it's a really obviously fake cry to me. Like he's very ridiculous looking as he's doing it, but they kind of take it seriously. But when he gets back in the car, he just like straightens up immediately and phones like his campaign group and says, "It's done." Really cold, as if he's like a hitman. Yeah, like it's done. The job's done.
Yeah.
So there's an emotional arc in the first episode. Well, I say emotional arc, it's not really an emotional arc, it's more an arc of like him going along with the faking it rather than actually being genuine. It's an arc of him just learning to fake it as opposed to actually feeling it. But
you have a pretty good moment with his girlfriend as well, where when she's like, right, I'm gonna dump you, but you've got to do these things. You're going to post all these things on Instagram, and it'll be a code, so I'll know you're thinking of.
Yeah, there's a secret code of like these different photos will mean that he's thinking of her and things like that.
But she also says when we pass each other in the hallway, you can't react. We're gonna play it cool, but you got to turn around and you look at me, and I need that to get through. And then the very first time they pass each other in the hallway, she stops and looks around, and he just doesn't at all.
Yeah.
And it's she's obviously crushed.
Yep. I mean, are we watching more of this? I don't
know.
I feel like there might be stuff in there to talk about, but at the same time, I'm not like.
Are all the episodes this long? Because if they're all like an hour,
that's a good question.
That actually puts me off.
Open up your Netflix. If they go down to like 45 minutes each, that'll be.
Then I'm actually going, well, that might be tighter. Then it's more tempting. Oh, they do seem to come down 47, 42. Oh, there's a 28-minute there.
28 minutes? Oh.
There's two longer ones that are 56, 6 and 8.
Oh. But, well, at least the finale. I'll give the finale a bit of leeway.
Yeah. Yeah. That comes down to a more reasonable length after what I would have wanted this episode to be.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to watch episode. Let's watch episode 2. Let's do episode 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully tomorrow we'll try and squeeze that in Saturday night to have it up sometime late Saturday, and we'll see if we want to continue it from there, because I think there's a lot of promising elements of this. this first episode just kind of lingered a bit too long in each moment. So
it is, but the actual moments are funny.
Yeah, and they are making good points. And we have this sociopath character, and him sort of making his own bed here, and now having to deal with the fact that he's vice president or potential vice president is going to completely derail the whole thing. We should also mention he's adopted, and his two brothers who weren't adopted because his mum's played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who has one scene in this. Actually, technically two, because she's in the flashback.
Couple, yeah.
Yeah. But they're like these two macho dudes who treat him like he is the third wheel, the ugly duckling, the whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what to mention.
We should also mention, he has a bit of a breakdown when he doesn't quite get into Harvard. He gets put on the waiting list, and he kind of hates that. And he says, "Oh, it's worse than just being no, because even if he does get in, it's only if they don't find anyone better." And he kind of hates that, and he feels like he's just wasted years of his life, doing everything to get into this, and then not. I think it's probably one of the only moments of a genuine emotional reaction in the episode.
It's funny. I never had there wasn't a waiting list thing when I was applying to uni. It was more just you had unconditional, which was you're in, and then there was conditional, which was as long as you get these 2 or 3 grades in your final year, well, you're in. If you don't, you're not.
Which is what most people tend to get offered, I think, because there's you have your predicted grades, and that's what they're based off of. And they're like, well, yeah, as long as you hit those, no problem.
Well, no. Where I grew up, most of our because 5th and 6th year for us in high school, which is the last 2 years, you do the same qualifications in both years. So by the time you're applying, you've already got a year of results of the same level of qualifications. So it's a little bit different, but that's a Scottish thing. So typically, unconditionals were a thing a lot of people got because you already had 5, grades of this level.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing in England.
Whereas, some people, so okay, you're taking a few other classes in 6th year, you need to get a couple of these grades to, qualify, blah blah. But hey, that is the first episode of The Politician. So let us know what you thought of the first episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and everything we do here, you can do that over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month and ensure all the content keeps coming and get some extras for your worthwhile efforts. But that is us. So we do have our Netflix show launching next week, Raising Dion, which we'll be trying, so you can definitely look out for that. And like I said, we are going to at least try episode 2 of this, hopefully tomorrow night, and have that up as quickly as we can and see if we want to keep going with it. But as far as recommending the episode, I'd say try it, because there's a lot of positive qualities, but there is definitely some lingering issues as well. So that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?